Across the vast waters of rivers, lakes, and oceans, there are communities that resemble unique floating cities, where human life and nature blend into a vibrant and living tapestry. From Kampong Phluk in Cambodia to the Inle Lake floating villages of Myanmar, colorful stilt houses and floating markets reflect on the still waters, creating a scene both peaceful and captivating. From Khua Van in the majestic Ha Long Bay to Koh Phanyi in Thailand, travelers will encounter a lifestyle deeply connected to the sea, where fishing traditions and local culture have been preserved through generations. From the Uros floating villages on Lake Titicaca in Peru to the Mechrey floating village in Nigeria, often called the Venice of Africa, each place radiates a spirit of resilience amid the endless waters. Let's explore these unique communities where every roof and every boat tells its own story of human adaptability and creativity in the face of vast and untamed nature. Chong Khneas is a floating village located on the edge of Tonle Sap Lake, only about 9 miles from downtown Siem Reap, making it the easiest gateway to explore this remarkable lake. Its proximity has made it a popular stop for travelers. Interestingly, Chong Khneas is home not only to Khmer people, but also to Vietnamese and Cham communities. This diversity creates a colorful cultural landscape that reflects the long history of interaction around Tonle Sap. A remarkable detail is that Chong Khneas is often considered the most dynamic floating village of the area, with many mobile floating houses such as schools, churches, and even shops. The whole village shifts with the water level, making it a unique community in constant transformation. Vang Vieng lies in Bai Tu Lang Bay and is considered one of the most pristine floating fishing villages in northern Vietnam. Free from noisy crowds of tourists, this small village radiates a tranquil atmosphere where nature and the fishing community blend into a unique rhythm of life. The distinctive feature of Vung Vieng is its natural village gate, a towering limestone arch that can only be entered by rowing a small bamboo boat through. This experience feels like stepping through a secret doorway into a secluded world within the bay. Unlike many other fishing villages, Vung Vieng is famous for its traditional handicrafts. Fishermen here skillfully weave nets, make fishing gear, and preserve techniques that have existed for hundreds of years. It is one of the precious, living heritages closely tied to Vietnam's fishing culture. Today, Vung Vieng is oriented towards preservation as a cultural and craft village, where visitors not only enjoy the scenery, but also directly explore the lives, skills, and indigenous knowledge of the fishermen of Bai Tu Long. Tan Lap Floating Village lies in the middle of the Dong Thap Moi wetlands in the Mekong Delta. It is a typical floating community that reflects a way of life adapted to the unique riverine environment of the region. The floating houses are built on a system of floats and stilts, flexible to both flood and dry seasons. Residents live by fishing, harvesting natural aquatic resources, and making use of the rich supplies from the Kajeput forests and surrounding swamps. Around the village stretches the lush scenery of Kajeput trees, lotuses, and water lilies, which provide shelter for many water birds, such as herons, night herons, lesser whistling ducks, and even seasonal migratory birds. This diverse ecosystem keeps community life closely connected to nature. The distinctive feature of Tan Lap is that the floating village lies right within a pristine Kajeput forest. Thanks to this combination, it reflects both traditional settlement methods and the sustainable symbiosis between people and a valuable wetland ecosystem. Nampan is one of the largest and oldest floating villages on Inle Lake, where the Intha community has lived for generations. Hundreds of wooden and bamboo stilt houses stand on posts, forming a dense network of waterways that link together into a floating village right in the middle of the lake. Not only relying on floating gardens to grow vegetables, Nampan is also famous for its traditional crafts. Many families make Burmese cigars, weave fabric from lotus fiber, or forge knives and tools by hand, turning the village into a production hub connected to the water. Nampan is also the site of one of the largest floating markets in the Inle area. From early morning, boats loaded with farm produce, lake fish, and handicrafts gather here, transforming the water's surface into a bustling trading space among the ethnic groups around the lake. Beyond its economic life, Nampan preserves many wooden temples and small stupas built directly on floating platforms. The presence of religion, together with the rhythm of daily life and the natural environment, makes Nampan one of the most ancient yet vibrant floating villages of Inle. Koh Phanyi is a floating village located in Phang Nga Bay, southern Thailand. The founders of the village were Muslim migrants of Indonesian origin who arrived more than 200 years ago. Today, hundreds of stilt houses, small markets, and even a school stand firmly above the water, reflecting the community's resilient adaptation to the marine environment. What makes Koh Phangan world famous is its floating soccer field. From simple wooden planks joined together on the water, the village children created a unique sports space that has gradually become a cultural symbol of the community. Beyond its unusual architecture and lifestyle, Koh Phangan offers a vivid view of the fusion between the sea, Islamic culture, and floating life, a rare combination found right in Thailand. The floating villages of the Samabajau people across southern Philippines are not merely places to live, but reflections of a rare, seafaring, nomadic lifestyle. In their spiritual life, the Samabajau believe that the sea has a soul, with each coral reef or fishing ground linked to its own deity. Fishermen's rituals and folk songs are performed at sunset, blending with the sound of waves to create a unique cultural atmosphere. They are renowned for their ability to dive deep and stay underwater for long periods without modern equipment, hunting fish or collecting shellfish from the seabed. This is not only a survival skill, but also considered an inherited instinct, proof of their extraordinary adaptation to the ocean. The Samabajau villages are also migratory. Some exist only temporarily and then vanish, leaving behind faint traces across the open sea. This very impermanence makes them a distinctive type of floating community, both bound to nature and evoking the wandering spirit of the ocean. Sitang Kai, located in Tawi-Tawi province, is a unique floating town often called the Venice of the South. Almost all structures, from houses and shops to markets, are built on wooden stilts or float directly on the sea. People travel, trade, and even take their children to school by boat, creating an urban rhythm rarely seen in the middle of the ocean. The residents of Sitangkai are mostly Samabajau and Tausug, both deeply tied to the sea. Beyond fishing, they are well known for their floating market that sells seaweed, dried fish, and many local goods, attracting traders from nearby islands. More than just a floating village, Sitangkai is an entire floating town that offers a truly unusual sight, a bustling community functioning entirely on water, where maritime culture and island ecology blend into one of Southeast Asia's most distinctive lifestyles. Phluk Hai Floating Village is a coastal settlement with hundreds of floating houses, mainly serving aquaculture and daily life connected to the sea. Its position near the shore and sheltered by low mountains behind helps the area avoid strong waves. The marine environment around Phluk Hai has gentle currents and stable salinity, suitable for many seafood species. Beneath the floating houses, cages often raise cobia, pomfret, lobsters, and even specialties like sweet snails. These conditions turn the floating village into a coastal aquaculture system of remarkable scale. The marine ecosystem in the area is quite diverse, with scattered coral reefs and seagrass beds providing shelter for small fish, mollusks, and crustaceans. This is also a sea zone where seagulls and terns frequently appear, especially during the calm water season. Beyond its ecological value, Phluk Hai is also a site for field research on how communities adapt to the marine environment. The combination of floating houses, fish farming systems, and natural surroundings makes it a distinctive model of coastal life in southern Vietnam. Clearwater Beach, located in Clearwater, Pinellas County, Florida, is one of the most famous and highly rated beaches in the United States. Its fine, white sand and clear waters make it an ideal destination for sunbathing, swimming, and water sports. Beyond its natural beauty, the beach offers a perfect relaxing space for all ages. Pier 60 is the prominent entertainment hub of Clearwater Beach. Visitors can enjoy breathtaking sunsets, participate in lively outdoor activities, and listen to live music. The vibrant atmosphere, combined with playgrounds, creates a dynamic and colorful experience, highlighting the beach's unique charm. Altogether, Clearwater Beach is not just a beautiful beach, but a convergence of nature, entertainment, and learning. From its fine white sand to pristine nearby islands, every moment here provides relaxation, excitement, and a connection with nature. Located on Richardson Bay, just north of San Francisco, the Sausalito floating homes are among the most famous floating house communities in the United States. More than 400 colorful homes, with diverse designs, sit side by side on the water, forming a neighborhood that is both modern and artistic. The origins of this community began after World War II, when abandoned ships were converted into affordable housing. By the 1960s and 70s, the area had become a gathering place for artists, musicians, and counterculture movements, shaping a lifestyle of freedom and creativity. What makes Sausalito special is the blend of artistic history and ecological coastal living. More than simply houses, these floating homes embody creativity and the search for freedom, making them a unique symbol of the American West Coast. Along the Christianshavn Canal in Copenhagen, the floating home community of the Christiania Freetown presents a scene unlike the rest of the city. The houses sit close together on the water, forming a colorful and distinctive neighborhood. Many floating homes here are built of wood, handcrafted in design, with some even recycled from old boats. Their structures do not follow a fixed standard, instead reflecting the creativity and freedom that have defined Christiania since the 1970s. The surroundings are peaceful, with greenery along the banks. Small boats moored by wooden docks, and the water mirroring the homes. Although only a few minutes' walk from central Copenhagen, the atmosphere feels separate, tied closely to the rhythm of the canal. Today, the Christiania houseboats are seen as an essential part of the Freetown's identity. They provide housing while also adding a unique touch to the landscape of Denmark's capital. Tondo is one of the oldest settlements in Manila, with a history spanning centuries. Its strategic location along the Pasig River allowed Tondo to flourish in trade and become a hub of cultural connections. Archaeologists have discovered pottery, handicrafts, and evidence of the wealth of the indigenous community here. Today, Tondo is a densely populated urban district, known as a center of working-class life. Bustling markets and vibrant street scenes reflect the community's strong vitality. Tondo also stands out for its religious festivals and folk heritage, showcasing the blend of local traditions and foreign influences in Manila's development. Shidi, at the foot of Huangshan, is known as a water village deeply marked by merchant clans. More than 900 years ago, it was once a bustling trading hub, thanks to a waterway network connected to major commercial routes. The village resembles a maze, with hundreds of alleys paved with green stone, interwoven with canals flowing through clusters of houses. The waterways not only provided daily needs, but also served as natural streets for transporting goods, binding community life closely to the water. What makes Chidi unique are its stone arches with exquisite carvings, memorial steles, and ancestral temples of each clan. These are not just architectural features, but also reflect a social structure centered on family lineages where rituals and beliefs are intertwined with the waterways. Chidi still preserves its traditional atmosphere with a slow pace of life, the murmur of water flowing through narrow lanes, and community festivals held year-round. This blend of commerce, clans, and waterways has shaped the distinct identity of this ancient village. Tongli, located on the outskirts of Suzhou, is known as one of the most classical water towns of the Jiangnan region. With more than 1,000 years of history, the village stands out for its dense network of canals that divide the area into small islands connected by stone bridges. The most distinctive feature of Tongli is the three ancient bridges collectively called the Three Bridges: Taiping, Changqing, and Jili. Local people have a custom of walking across the three bridges during special occasions such as weddings or birthdays, believing it brings good fortune and longevity. Traditional architecture has been preserved, with black-tiled houses, secluded courtyards, and interspersed gardens and temples. Many homes face the canals, with stone steps leading directly down to the water, linked to each family's small boat. Tongli is attractive not only for its canal scenery, but also for the customs and community rituals connected to the stone bridges and waterways. This harmony between water spaces and cultural life gives the water town its unique identity. Makoko, located on the edge of the Lagos Lagoon, is known as the informal floating city of Africa. Tens of thousands of residents live in wooden houses built on tall stilts stretching across the water's surface, creating a settlement that is both fragile and vast. The people of Makoko mainly survive through fishing and small-scale trade on boats. Bustling floating markets reflect the resilience of the community, despite lacking basic infrastructure such as electricity, clean water, and healthcare. Makoko is not only a floating settlement, but also a symbol of human adaptation to harsh urban conditions. It has inspired many architectural and social projects seeking to improve community life in the water cities of the 21st century. Located in False Creek, right in downtown Vancouver, Granville Island floating homes form a small, yet striking community of colorful houses moored along the dock. These wooden homes are built on floats and connected to the shore by narrow wooden walkways, creating a space both unique and intimate. All around lies the lively scene of Granville Island, a public market, marinas, sailboats, and kayaks constantly passing by. On the water's surface, the homes reflect like bright patches of color amid the calm ripples. Though modest in size, many of the houses feature small balconies, flower pots, or even hanging gardens, bringing warmth to the heart of the bustling city. seagulls, ducks, and small boats often appear right next to the porches, deepening the bond with the aquatic setting. What makes Granville Island floating homes truly special is the visual contrast. A tiny, vibrant community floating on the water, set against the modern backdrop of Vancouver's high-rise buildings. In the east of Amsterdam, the new district of Ijdburg stands out with hundreds of floating houses built as an official part of the city plan. These modern homes are not converted boats, but are designed from the start to float on the lake, anchored by piles and wooden walkways. The architecture is diverse, with many houses featuring large glass facades, balconies, and rooftops, creating a sense of openness to the water. Unlike the improvisation of traditional houseboats, Ijdburg reflects uniformity and modernity, embodying the trend of sustainable urban design. The surroundings are quiet, with wide canals and calm waters, perfect for small boats, kayaking, and outdoor activities. From here, residents can enjoy the water landscape while being only minutes away from downtown Amsterdam. What makes Ijdburg floating houses special is their pioneering role in developing floating cities. The project proves that living on water is not just a temporary solution, but can become a sustainable part of urban planning in the era of climate change. Kampong Kliang is one of the most impressive floating communities on Tonle Sap Lake, where an entire city on water stretches for miles. With thousands of houses standing close together, the village feels like a special urban settlement, drifting with the rhythm of the water. Beyond residences, Kampong Kliang is also marked by ancient Khmer temples built on higher ground. These structures serve both as spiritual centers and as symbols of the community's deep connection with religion. The most striking sight of Kampong Kliang is its stilt houses rising up to 30 feet, proudly built on massive wooden posts. When the water rises during the rainy season, the whole village appears to float on the lake. In the dry season, the dark wooden stilts form an impressive forest of man-made pillars. Uwama is the most famous floating village on Inle Lake, known as the waterborne commercial center of the Intha community. Hundreds of stilt houses cluster around narrow canals, and right on the lake, the Uwama floating market bustles with boats filled with vegetables, fish, flowers, and handicrafts. What makes it special is that the market operates in rotation. Each day, it is held in a different village around the lake. But Uwama always remains the largest and busiest. Thanks to this, Uwama has become a meeting point not only for the Intha, but also for many ethnic groups such as the Shan, Pa'o, and Taungyo. The people here also preserve many legends about the origins of the lake and how deities have protected a life tied to water. Festivals associated with temples along the village continue to be held every year, reinforcing Uwama's spiritual role in Intha life. Uwama is not only a settlement, but also evidence of the harmony between trade, culture, and nature. The existence of the floating market, along with the network of waterborne villages, makes it one of the most unique aquatic living spaces in Myanmar. The Kerala backwaters stretch for hundreds of kilometers in southern India, forming a network of canals, lagoons, and freshwater lakes connected to the Arabian Sea. On these calm waters, wooden houseboats, called ketuvalam, create the region's signature image. Originally, ketuvalam were built entirely of wood and coir rope, used to transport rice, spices, and coconuts along the waterways. Later, many were transformed into houseboats with bedrooms, living rooms, and balconies opening to tropical river views. What makes Kerala's houseboats unique is their constant movement, carrying people past fishing villages, flooded rice fields, and lush coconut groves. The rhythm of life unfolds through locals, paddling small boats, fishing, or harvesting palm trees along the banks. Surrounding the backwaters is a rich ecosystem where storks, herons, and many migratory water birds gather. The harmony between nature and traditional wooden boat architecture has made Kerala houseboats one of India's most unique travel experiences. Loktak, the largest freshwater lake in northeast India located in Manipur, is famous for its fumdis, natural floating islands formed from vegetation, soil, and decomposed organic matter. These masses of earth and grass range from just a few meters to several kilometers, drifting and shifting with the changing seasons of rain and sun. A large part of the local population lives on the fumdis, building temporary houses, raising fish, and doing small-scale farming. Many fumdis are carved into floating fish ponds called athafum, reflecting human creativity in making use of this special ecosystem. Loktak Lake is also home to Cable Lamjao National Park, the world's only floating national park, resting on a large fumdi. It shelters the rare Sangai deer, the state animal of Manipur. The existence of phumdis not only creates a magical landscape on the lake, but also sustains a community that lives directly on these moving islands. This harmony between nature and people makes Loktak one of South Asia's most unique ecological wonders. Zhujiajiao, located about 31 miles from downtown Shanghai, is known as the Venice of the East, thanks to its dense network of canals weaving through the old town. This water village has a history of more than 1,700 years, originating from small river ports that grew into a bustling trading hub. The most striking feature of Zhujiajiao is its more than 30 ancient stone bridges spanning the canals. Among them, the Fangsheng Bridge, built of granite, with 5 large arches, is the most iconic, serving both transportation needs and as a community gathering spot. On both sides of the canals stand rows of tiled-roof wooden houses, many of which have been converted into shops. Riverside markets bustle with a wide variety of goods, from farm produce and textiles to boats selling traditional food. The local rhythm of life blends the charm of ancient scenery with urban vibrancy. Zhujiajiao is not just a water village for sightseeing, but also a living reflection of the long history of commerce in the Jiangnan region, where people use the canals as lifelines to connect and develop both economy and culture. Kampong Phluk is a unique village located by Tonle Sap Lake, about 18 miles from the city of Siem Reap. This village offers travelers a distinctive experience of exploring the close relationship between people and nature in the Mekong River basin. The scenery here is highlighted by tall, stilt houses standing on wooden posts, creating a spectacular architectural complex mirrored on the water. Each season, the appearance of Kampong Phluk changes with the lake's water level, offering views that are both familiar and new. Beyond its architectural charm, this area is also famous for its freshwater mangrove forest, where sunlight filters through lush green canopies and the still water reflects like a mirror. It is a rare ecological environment, playing an essential role in maintaining the balance of Tonle Sap's aquatic system. The floating villages on Inle Lake are home to the Intha people, an ethnic minority community famous for their unique way of life adapted to the water. Hundreds of stilt houses made of wood and bamboo are built directly on the lake, connected by boats, forming a distinctive network of floating settlements. The Intha have developed floating gardens right beside their homes, using water hyacinths and lake mud as soil to grow tomatoes, squash, and many kinds of vegetables. This is a unique feature found only in Inle's floating villages, turning them into floating fields that sustain the entire community. Transportation and trade in the villages rely entirely on small boats. Fishermen row with one leg, a technique unique to the Intha, which allows them to maneuver easily through reeds and tend their floating gardens. Besides farming and fishing, the floating villages also preserve traditional crafts, such as weaving silk from lotus fiber and making handmade cigars. The combination of residence, agriculture, and handicrafts on the water makes Inle a unique cluster of floating villages, regarded as a symbol of Myanmar's water culture. On the still waters of Dal Lake in Srinagar, Kashmir, wooden houseboats create a scene that is both romantic and unique. The long pinewood boats, intricately carved with porches, balconies, and fully furnished rooms, resemble floating mansions. Some houseboats are decorated with Kashmiri carpets, chandeliers, and wooden handicrafts, reflecting the region's artisanal excellence. Today, houseboats are not only home to some local families, but also serve as floating hotels, welcoming travelers to experience this unique lifestyle on the lake. Life here is tied to the shikara, small rowboats that ferry people and guests between the floating market, lakeside villages, and the colorful flower bazaar. What makes Srinagar's houseboats distinctive is that they do not move like floating boats elsewhere, but remain anchored on the lake. This blend of architecture, history, and natural scenery has turned them into a true symbol of Kashmir. Ganvie, located on Lake Nokowe in Benin, is considered the largest and oldest floating village in Africa, with a history of more than 400 years. The village was built by the Tofinu people in the 16th century when they fled from the slave raids of the Dahomey Kingdom. Living on the lake allowed them to escape the law forbidding capture on sacred waters. Today, Ganvie consists of thousands of wooden houses with thatched roofs built on stilts, connected by wide canals. Daily life happens entirely on the water, from schools and churches to floating markets, all tied to traditional wooden boats. The people mainly make a living by fishing and raising fish in enclosed areas of the lake fenced with bamboo. This unique aquaculture method sustains the livelihood of tens of thousands of residents. Ganvie is not only a floating village, but also a living testimony to human creativity and resilience in the face of historical pressures. With its vast watery landscapes and lake-based culture, it has been recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, becoming a unique destination in West Africa. Samkar Floating Village lies in the southern part of Inle Lake, far from the center, so it is less known to visitors. The stilt houses of the Intha and Shan ethnic minorities still stand firmly on bamboo posts connected by small boats. The residents mainly fish, grow vegetables in floating gardens, and carry out daily life in rhythm with the natural flow of the lake. What makes Samkar unique is the cluster of ancient temples and brick stupas right at the water's edge, many of which have been partly submerged over centuries. The sight of pagoda towers mirrored on the lake creates a solemn atmosphere, evoking both sacredness and mystery. With its untouched scenery and ancient architectural remains blending with river life, Samkar has become one of the floating villages that best embody the unique fusion of history and nature on Inle Lake.